Welcome to the Old Lady Podcast, where we talk about coping mechanisms on how to get through a world that is on fire. Stay tuned. Well, it's Monday, and usually on Monday mornings I film my General Hospital Snark podcast. But David, my co-snarker, is on the East Coast, and he's in the middle of this winter storm. He's been without internet for almost 6 days, and he's without power as of tomorrow morning. So without power, you don't have internet, and without internet, you don't have a podcast. So that's the situation there. So I've kind of been waiting to hear from him. I haven't heard from him yet, so I'm assuming he's out doing whatever people back east are doing right now. He's in South Carolina, so he doesn't have a lot of snow, but he's got the ice situation. Anyway, that's where we are. So it was another hellish week in America. Welcome to fascism, everyone. This is so not what we had on our bingo cards for being old people, right? Holy crap on a cracker. So I have no answers, people. I have no solutions. I have no answers. I have no recommendations. But I can tell you what I'm doing to stay sane. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, that when things get really heavy, my tendency is to go into a deep cave, pull out a book or some music, and just turn it all off. Fortunately, broadcast television is cooperating with this right now. So I want to tell you, I am so looking forward to Bridgerton dropping later this week. I need Bridgerton right now. Now, for those of you who have not watched Bridgerton or don't have any idea what I'm talking about, it is a television series about to do their 4th season. They are based on a series of books written by Julia Quinn, who writes Regency romance novels. And these books were picked up by Shonda Rhimes, who does Grey's Anatomy and all the other things. But of course, when you put Shonda in charge of things, they don't look like the original. So one thing that's wonderful about Bridgerton is that the cast is completely diverse, which is not at all what it would have looked like in Regency, England. But it's awesome that we get white people, black people, Asian people, Hispanic people, all the people. I love it. And they are dukes, and they are viscounts, and they are fabulous. So I love it so much. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that. As a side note, we had one of our singer friends come over yesterday. Emily Scott is one of my favorite people on the planet. Now, she doesn't know that I'm talking about her on my podcast. I will link to her Instagram. Emily is a soprano, but she's a soprano with a personality that is so delightful. I mean, she is larger than life. I mean, she's big as a minute, but her personality is larger than life. And I realized I was watching cast interviews in preparation for Bridgerton because I like to know what's what, right? Information is important, especially unimportant information. I was watching the interviews, and they were interviewing Claudia Jessie, who plays Eloise in Bridgerton. And she's the middle sister. She's snarky. She's sassy. I adore her. And I realized, oh my gosh, Claudia Jessie and my friend Emily Scott are the same person. And I love that so much. Anyway, we were entertained by her last night, and that was great. So we have Bridgerton, and then I don't know, it seems to me that the people listening to this podcast would also subscribe to PBS, and I want to tell you about the latest thing that just dropped on PBS, which is fantastic. It's called Bookish, and it stars Mark Gatiss. Now, if you don't know Mark Gatiss, Mark Gatiss is one of those British men who does everything. He's a writer. He's a creator of television shows. He's an actor. He's been in everything. He's been in Game of Thrones. He's been in Doctor Who. He was Sherlock's brother in Sherlock. He played Mycroft Holmes. Anyway, Mark Gatiss is fabulous, and he's written this new series about Gabriel Book. That's his last name, a man, and he has books, and he runs a bookstore. But of course, true to all British TV things, he doesn't just run a bookstore, he solves murders. I love it. It's fabulous. I think there are 8 episodes, but each story arc is 2 episodes. So it's cute. It's wonderful. So I'm really holding on to that one. So as you know, not only do I watch very little television, but I read a whole lot of books. So let's catch up on the books because we've got some great ones. I finished Meet the Newmans by Jennifer Niven. You guys, this book is fantastic. It is everything I wanted in a book. We've got comedy. We've got interesting characters. We've got situations that you can't figure out. We've got television people from the 60s. It's fantastic. It did not one page of that book disappointed. So I highly recommend that one. That is an absolute A, if not A+ book. Loved it. We're still deep in the Ruth Galloway mystery series. I finished book 4, A Room Full of Bones. And yesterday I started the 5th book, which is called A Dying Fall. And, you know, I'm not going to go on and on about these. You know I'm reading the series. I've got 15 books in the series. We're through a third of it right now with this book. And so I will keep going probably for the next several months finishing up this book. But I'm reading 2 other books right now. One is The Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett. This book's getting quite a bit of buzz. Everybody who reads it loves it. And I have to admit, I am also in that camp. So Annie Hartnett writes quirky books. I've only read one other of her books. I think she has 5 or 6 in her back catalog, which I will definitely read. I read a book called Unusual Animals about 5 years ago that she wrote, and I loved it. I don't remember what it was about. I just remember I loved it. And I love this book. So here's the setup. A 63-year-old curmudgeon is suddenly faced with taking care of his brother's grandchildren. Their parents have died, and he gets these 2 kids. One's 10 and a half, one's 9 and a half, and hilarity ensues. We also learn about this man that he's been an alcoholic, that he hangs out with his ex-wife who is engaged to his best friend, and they're sort of a weird family together. He has 2 daughters. One is deceased. The other is rather estranged from him. But this man, his daughter, and the 2 grandchildren, grandnieces and nephews, go on a road trip. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so cute. It is so cute. And it's read by Mark Bramhill, who has the most amazing reader voice. This man, he just sounds like a Midwestern grandpa, and he's fantastic. So I highly recommend that book. The other book I'm reading, I'm sorry, it's a new release, and it is fantastic. It's called The Instrumentalist. This is a book that's based in fact. It is absolutely based on a real historical person, Anna Maria della Pieta. She was a violin virtuoso in the 18th century, 17th century, Vivaldi. Vivaldi was her teacher. So this woman, and a true story, all true story. She's abandoned. She's sent to this orphanage that only takes care of girls. But guess what? This orphanage, De La Pieta, is a mecca for music at this point in Vienna. Vienna? No, Venice. Oh my God, I'm so not in my body this morning. Excuse me. And Vivaldi becomes her teacher. She's this masterful violinist. And you go back, and if you read about this orphanage, they had one of the best orchestras in Italy at that time, which were the ladies of this orphanage who practiced and learned. Anyway, that's that story. I'm about halfway through. It is so good. I highly recommend it. In fact, I sent a text to one of my very good friends who's a violinist, and I said, you need to read this. And she said, I kind of hesitate reading books about classical music. I said, so do I, because it can be really bad. But this one is excellent. I'm enjoying it very, very much. So that's the book situation. I have some fun knitting projects to share. I love this pair of socks. This is the Anthony sock from the Bridgerton collection by somebody. I don't remember who did the pattern, but wow. First of all, this is hand-dyed green yarn. You can't even see how beautiful it is from this, but it's a beautiful tonal, and I have these fun alternating cables. Anyway, almost done with the second sock. And then I have another project which I'm not sure about, and so I need you guys to tell me if this is cute or if it's dumb. This is a sock I've started. It's called the Alice sock. Oh, it's stuck here. And I think the reason, well, actually I like it better looking at it in the camera. I think it's the wrong color green is my problem. It needs a little bit more contrast, but maybe this is working for me. Anyway, this is this cute rose pattern, and that's where I am on that. Still not convinced if I love it or not. I may put this down after I finish this sock and start something else because, as always, there are more things to be knit. I've learned in crafts, if you do a yarn craft, you understand this. There are 3 separate hobbies involved. There is the actual knitting of the garment. There is the purchasing of yarn from all manner of places, in all manner of colors and textures. And the third rung in this is the collection of patterns. I have so many sock patterns. If I were to knit socks every day without buying another piece of yarn or another pattern, I would still have more yarn and more patterns than I need. It's very fun. So my knitting best friend, Summer Lee, just dropped her new sock knitting book called The Sock Obsession. And she dropped another pattern called the Apricity sock. I'm thinking about knitting that one next. I will have to learn a new technique on that one, and so I'm kind of excited about that. So there's a lot going on out there. These socks are not a Summer Lee pattern, but they were really well, the pattern was well written and it was easy to follow, and I just like the way these look. They're very classic, let's put it that way. So I had an adventure this week. I have my little station. It's over here on this side of the room. And I have a recliner. And I don't love my recliner. It's fairly new. It was one of those, I bought it over the internet. And whoa, it's probably only going to last 2 or 3 years. I can tell by the construction. But nevertheless, that's what I have. Previous to this weekend, I had a little IKEA rolly drawer situation that was like my side table to my chair. But what you need to understand is this chair and this side table, that's my office. That's where I do my work. And so I realized that I was pushing things off this little IKEA table onto the floor because there wasn't enough top space for me to set all my things down. And, I was constantly rearranging and dropping things on the floor, and it was a mess. So I had this wild idea before Linda came, because Linda is my decorator assistant because she has a great eye and she knows what to do. So we went through the process of what do we need. I don't want a high table because I need to be putting my computer and my coffee and things on it. I need drawers. So we were kind of going back and forth between. But I found something. I ordered it from Wayfair. It is, you'll see the picture here of me trying to install it and what the setup looks like now. I used to have a tall, cheap lamp thing that I stuck. Anyway, it's much neater and cleaner now, but that's not the story. I have assembled furniture millions of times in my life. I have installed reverse osmosis water systems. I mean, I understand how things go together. I'm not an engineer, but I honestly believe that my years of sewing and understanding construction helps me with those things. So I was like, okay, everybody, I'm going to be putting this together. I'm pretty sure I can do this, no problem. Well, the truth is, I did do it, about 85%. And then I did not have the strength or the pressure ability to complete the project. And it made me feel old and cranky. In fact, when I look at it now, I still feel a little old and cranky. So I did that. And I had to kind of sit with the fact that I'm almost 70 and not 40 when I used to do all these things. So it's a rude awakening when you start to understand your own physical limitations. My brain is functioning just fine. It's the rest of me. You know how that works. I'm sure you have things that happen to you where you go, okay, we're not 40 anymore. And isn't it funny? I'm sure if anyone under the age of 40 were to watch this, which of course they wouldn't, they would say, 40 is old. No, 40 is not old. 40 is not old. 40 is the prime, baby. And 50s are the best. 60s are pretty good, but we're sliding into 70, and it's just, we'll see how we do. Anyway, so that was that situation. I was quite taken aback by my limitations, and it bothered me. One of the things we like to do in our family is to play board games. I've talked about how Sam and William are video gamers, but we like to turn the screens off and play games. So when we were up in Big Bear with the family, we brought a bunch of games, and I want to show you two of them that we've played that I really enjoyed. The first one is called Ticket to Ride, and it's a train game, and the objective is you need to build your train line between cities, and you get cards to determine the city. Anyway, let me tell you why this was a successful game for our family. That people who don't play games learned this very quickly and enjoyed. And I have to say that the first time I played this, I won because I had no idea what I was doing, and it was totally beginner's luck. And then the second time I played it, I really ticked off one of my friends because I kind of did an interference thing that made her not win. But hey, a game is a game. And then yesterday we played this game, which is called Harmonies. And this is very sweet. You can see there's cute little animals. You get a card and a thing, and you build habitats on that. And not unlike the Ticket to Ride game where you have a thing that tells you what you need to do and what your goal is, it's the same here. So if you want to build a habitat for a ladybug, you need to do certain things. And if you want to build a habitat for a sloth, you need to do certain things. Anyway, this was very fun. We played this last night. I lost, but my friend Emily Scott, who played it for the first time, won by a mile. So also very fun. In a way, they're similar. They have similar concepts in my brain. Anyway, in my brain, that's where they are. So I think as grandparents, or great aunts and uncles, whatever we are to the people in our life as older people, I think that it's important to introduce kids to board games. Yes, they can play games on their tablets and on their PlayStations and all that. And those are fun too. And I'm not saying those are bad, but it is fun sometimes to go wholly analog. We're very lucky in that Sam is a very experienced gamer on many different genres, what do you call it? And platforms, And so he's often, for lack of a better word, our dungeon master when we play. He's the one who's giving us tips. He's the one who's sort of driving things. And we are so appreciative of that because he helps us understand the bigger picture. Well, I think I've yammered on long enough. It's a very interesting thing that my internal world is so gentle and kind right now, and the external world is completely the opposite of that. It's a rough time in America. I think people are starting to you think the people who weren't horrified before are finally starting to become horrified? I hope so. God, I hope so. I pray for our country. I pray for our leaders. I wish the Democratic leadership would kind of get their act together. Is Chuck Schumer in a coma? What is going on with that man? Anyway, whew, enough. Sorry, this could go on a really long time if you open that door, Lianne. Don't open that door, Lianne. Anyway, you guys have a great week. Hopefully there will be a Snarkcast later. Who knows? David's kind of off in the ethers, probably trying to figure out how to stay warm. I hope all of you are healthy. I feel a cold coming on. Let's not get sick right now, you guys. There's a whole lot of stuff out there. Be very careful. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. All the things you do to protect yourself. And be kind to people. Smile. Say good morning. Wish them a wonderful day and mean it. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you for watching. I send up my prayers on our behalf. Bye-bye.